Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Food Fight. This is Chef Joe, and I have with me, of course, always,
Chris Roth.
So cool, man. So, listen, thank you, everyone, for tuning in today to listen to our rants and rambles about life and everything else in the restaurant industry. You know what's funny is last night I was doing the normal stuff on days off, right? Cooking dinner, well, reheating dinner, and doing laundry and folding stuff. And I was in my closet and I was putting this stuff away. And I looked in there and, you know, don't take this the wrong way, but I thought that I like literally burned every chef coat I owned, but I realized I had like 3 or 4 of them in there. I had like old ones from past jobs, current ones, and everything else. And I just thought like, man, we should really talk about the chef uniform. I think there's like a lot of information about it that people might not know. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of things that we stand on together and against. What do you think?
And a lot of history.
Yeah, history of the chef coats and the chef uniform in general, right?
Yeah, so I think for those that don't know and that are not in the business, chef coat came about in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And it was by a chef named Carême. He was the one who designed the modern day chef coat, and the color white, what signifies cleanliness.
Yeah, cleanliness.
And the design of it, which has the double-breasted front part.
Well, when you say double-breasted, what exactly does that mean?
That basically means that you can wear the chef coat in one way,
yep.
And then if you get something on it or a stain, you just flip it inside out or flip it around, I would say. Did I describe that good?
Yeah, no, that seems like a good description. That's why, like, you see chef coats, they have like a row of buttons on both sides, right? So it's interchangeable.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
So what you're supposed to do is when it gets dirty, you're supposed to flip it.
You're supposed to.
Supposed to.
Yeah.
How many places do you go that people actually flip it though?
Never.
So you always like put it on and it's like the one side's like beige, the other side's like white. You're like, dude, you're supposed to flip it.
How many times has that chef coat been stained?
I mean, I don't switch my shoes around if the left one gets dirty. I don't put the right one on the left foot. You know what I mean? I don't know. It doesn't kind of make sense altogether, but whatever. We could just roll with it.
So, you talk about the double-breasted. It's not only for keeping it clean, but it's also, you're working around a lot of hot liquids, fryers, boiling water, stock pots, and everything like that. So the reason why it's double layered like that is because to protect from splashes.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm sure a lot of people out there didn't know that it's not just a fashion statement, that there's actual purpose behind it. What about the hat, man? We've seen a lot of different hats in our time. The traditional toque, the tall paper, tall cloth one with all the pleats and stuff.
Yeah.
What do you know about that?
So when Carême designed the hat, he did it with 100 folds in it, which signifies how many ways a chef should be able to prepare an egg.
Yeah. So, well, okay. So I like fried. Poached.
Over easy.
Yeah, over easy, man. Yeah, you got me. 100 ways. Holy shit. Yeah. Well, I guess I'm not able to wear that hat then. Whatever.
No. So, but he did it so that and it also signifies rank in the kitchen.
Yeah, no, I've worked in some kitchens where, some of them are tall, some short, and that's what I've always understood as well.
Yeah, and it's a cool thing. I just, I feel that too tall, it gets caught up in the hood. You got to bend over every time you go under the hood just to kind of look down at a saute pan. So it kind of gets in the way a little bit if it's too tall. But you know what? It's definitely a thing where, as a young culinarian, I always looked up to kind of wanting that rank and to grow into to be able to wear the tall hat.
I worked at Omni Resorts at the time, mm-hmm. and I used to do banquets. I worked all the restaurants. There's like 4 restaurants all inside the one compound, if you will, and I used to like be infatuated by the hats and the uniform and everything else. And I remember one day that I worked there, I was doing the breakfast station, and I was working omelets and everything else. And I was wearing, one of those tall paper hats, and I was like, oh, this is great. This is amazing. And then like I went to working on the line, and I was hitting my head on the hoods. I was catching on the salamander, the sprinkler system, like you name it. Dude, it was like I needed like 15 hats to make it through like a 6-hour shift because I just sweat right through them.
Walking into the walk-in.
Dude, horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
But that's how you would live if you're 7 feet tall, ducking everywhere.
Now, mind you, I'm only 6'1", but yeah, I am kind of a giant. Either way, So the hat's kind of cool, man. What about the big floppy one like you see on the Muppet Chef? What's up with that hat? Because look, I have no respect for that hat. Like, I don't know if it has any meaning to you or anything else, but it's a horrible design.
It has no meaning to me. The only thing that it brings back memories is when I had to wear it in culinary school.
It's like you drop your self-respect and pride out of your pocket in the parking lot, and you'd walk in and put that hat on and work 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about how I feel about it.
With the neckerchief.
Yeah.
Everything. You had to fold the neckerchief just right.
Oh, God, those days sucked, man. But you know what? They served a purpose, though. Like the whole uniform. So, like, the neckerchief was meant to collect the sweat, right?
Correct.
I mean,
everything in a chef's uniform that is classic was to represent cleanliness, represent organization, was to represent, just overall organization, to be honest with you, in the kitchen. And when a chef looks clean and organized, you're taking the assumption that his food and his kitchen is clean and organized, because nobody wants to eat where there's a dirty kitchen.
Oh no, I agree. Absolutely, I agree on that. I feel like, but I agreed to, like, nobody wants to eat in a dirty kitchen. I don't feel like the uniform represents the talent. So like, if I seen a chef that was wearing, say, a t-shirt and a pair of jeans and no apron and kind of looks sloppy, yeah, I'd be a little disappointed. Might be a little skeptical about, like, the quality of product that he's putting out. As far as, if somebody was wearing a uniform, say it wasn't a chef coat, take for instance, like mine, I wear a mechanic shirt. I would feel like as long as in uniform of some sort, that he would be kind of presentable. I don't know. Because look at the pants. Like, we talked about the hat, we talked about the neckerchief, we talked about the coat, but the pants are important too. The houndstooth, the little squares, it look like little checkers. Like, that was designed originally too because it was supposed to prevent the appearance of stains. Correct? So, it all has its place, and they're baggy because you don't want it to be tight fitting. In case you spill something on yourself, it'll keep it away from your skin. It won't make contact. And that's important along with the apron. Right. The apron is a huge part of the game. And the
apron was to not only represent cleanliness, but to protect from splashes.
Right. Absolutely. And, pardon me, the apron's worn in such a different way nowadays than what it used to be too. Before it was a white apron, right? And it was normally tied around the waist.
From the waist down.
From the waist down. And that would help give you that extra layer for your legs, like your double-breasted coat would give you for your chest.
Correct.
And nowadays, it's like the designer aprons that are out, different fits, different styles. It's endless now.
Yeah, as much as I would consider myself a traditionalist with the chef's uniform, I love these new aprons. They're lightweight.
I've seen your Instagram, I know.
You can wear them around your neck, the bib. They kind of keep your jackets even cleaner. They're comfortable, and they have pockets, so you can kind of just put gloves in there, or your tweezers and
the
pens and markers, because we're always needing to have these utensils around us.
I agree.
So it works out really good, and I love the designs of them.
The modern apron is quite an impressive thing. As small as it might be to some people, like for chefs, it's almost like getting that cool jacket or backpack that has all the pockets and zippers and all these different things, because it's kind of cool. And as a guy, like, I love pockets and zippers and like accessories, like.
And every young culinarian has had something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's about being efficient at your job. And that's the thing about the uniform, is that it was meant to be able to be a security blanket for you as a cook, to be able to produce the work you needed to and to feel safe in your environment, from the shoes to the pants to the hat to the the handkerchiefs or the neckerchiefs, whatever they're called. It was all designed to basically, like, let you focus on what's important.
Yeah.
And that was the fact that, you wanted to cook good food. We all know that the design of these things have changed drastically over the last, hundreds of years, because the cooking environment has changed drastically in the last few hundred years. You're not cooking cauldrons of, like, roux and making, 50-gallon stock pots of, gravy anymore. It's like, you're not feeding a kingdom, you're feeding just a restaurant. So it's like, I think that it's evolved like everything does with the demand of the industry, which is kind of cool, because, looking back, it's like, wasn't it like originally, like, chefs wore gray? Like, the coat was to replicate, like, what was it? The priests. And then it changed to white, right? And then Escoffier brought it to London.
Yeah.
And so, like, the whole transition has happened because of that. It's really cool to kind of see it. You walk down the street and you see guys dressed up in chef coats and pants and all kinds of other things. And you look and you're like, okay, that guy's a chef or he's a cook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's very obvious to the untrained eye of who that person is and what they do for a living. It's very cool. It's like a police uniform or a firefighter uniform or a military uniform. It's like, it's very distinguished.
And you got to wear it with pride too, you know? I mean, but it doesn't just stop at the chef coat.
No.
You can wear a nice clean chef coat and wear pants that have holes in them or shoes that are all wearing out. You know, it's, if you're going to represent yourself in a way of not only professionalism, but cleanliness, go the whole route with it. You know, don't just stop at the jacket and say, hey, I got a clean coat, but my pants are dirty as hell, you know?
You know, it's kind of a funny thing. You look at that where you say that now that people are exposed to the chefs and the cooks, people tend to not want to wear the chef coats and the chef clothes. And before, when nobody can see you, it was like a mandatory standard.
Yeah.
I don't know if people just thought that at this time now it's like they're able to be seen. They want to be their own person. And so they all kind of took on their own like image. I think that might have changed it a little bit too.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a good point. I think the open kitchens elevated a style revolution or look that needed to be adjusted because we're not just hiding in the back anymore. We are in open kitchens out in front of everyone, and everyone is looking at the team and the cooks. So I think that's, to your point, like 15, 20 years ago is when it really started. The chef coats started to change. The aprons have started to change a lot. And
I remember, I don't want to say like 99, 2000, right around that time. There wasn't many options for the chef coat of the pants.
Agreed.
Like you had black or you had houndstooth for the pants. Mm-hmm. You had a white coat and you could barely find like a short sleeve white coat or limited supplies of black coats.
And the fabric was so thick too.
Yeah, yeah. Shit, man, they used to be so hot. Pardon me, I grew up in Arizona, Tucson, and I cooked in a lot of restaurants, and all of them required you to wear a chef coat. And it was 110 degrees, man, in July.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, we have air-conditioned kitchens, but it's still hot as shit. It's like the whole uniform wasn't meant for ventilation. I don't care what they say about it. Like, it just wasn't conducive to being cool. And that's why, like, you know, we were talking about open kitchens. Like, at Nosh, we have an open kitchen. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I don't wear a chef coat. My guys do wear a chef coat, but that's by choice.
Yeah.
But I feel like when I was designing it, I was thinking I want them to be able to see the cooks and to see who they were. And I wanted them to be kind of their own person. So like when I designed it, I was like, okay, it's gonna be open up to this point. You can only see so much. And then as far as the look for the staff, I wanted it to be more modern. I didn't want it to be kind of old school. Yeah. And so I was thinking, okay, what do we want to do here? And I started off with mechanic shirts because I wore them for months before we opened so that I could tell if I really liked it, day-to-day life. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
There's good movement. It protected me. It was lightweight. And so that's what I did. And I went non-traditional with it. And there's always a debate to be had whether or not we think that being non-traditionally dressed is going to affect my business or affect, like you said, the perception of the food quality. But it was a risk I was willing to take. And that was a risk that I was willing to give to my people because I wanted them to concentrate on cooking, following direction, having passion for the industry, and really just worrying about putting out a good service rather than coming in with a pressed white coat and a iron pair of slacks and so on and so forth. I mean, I do demand non-slip shoes no matter what. Mm-hmm. But as far as like the pants, I leave it up to them.
Yeah.
As long as they wear the shirt and they want to wear the hat or a bandana, I don't care as long as the hair is covered. It's kind of a new take on it. And I feel like the productivity of it is genuine and that they really will give me more because they feel more comfortable in their own skin.
And I agree with you to an extent because I do feel that there are a lot of people out there that need structure in their lives. Yeah. And if you can give them the structure with a uniform, it almost gets them remotivated for a common goal. When all the guys are wearing the same uniform, we feel like we're on a team trying to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And in this business, you don't have, you don't get a World Series or a Super Bowl to say we won, we are the champions.
You make it through a Friday night service, man. That's about as good as it gets.
That's it, right?
You kept all your fingers and nobody had to go to the hospital and this person's sober. It's a great night.
So, yeah, it is.
I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, that's the Super Bowl. Every week we have a chance to become national champions.
That's it. But you're constantly striving for the same goals throughout the weeks without an ending point.
Yeah.
It's like a never ending hunt for the Super Bowl. You'll never get to it, but you got to keep doing it. And, keeping the team in line, not in line necessarily, but keeping them motivated, keeping them, where a lot of guys need structure in their lives. And I feel that a uniform, specifically a chef coat, helps keep them in line as to why they're doing what they're doing. I go back to my time in France where, you talked about a hot kitchen. The chef coats back then were not as fancy as they are now.
Like burlap sacks.
Oh,
dude.
my gosh. And
horrible.
There was no air conditioning over there. So,
oh, really?
No. So in the south of France, it got really hot in the summertime.
I bet. Yeah.
And no air conditioning in the kitchen. So you open up the windows and try to find a fan just to kind of survive and stay on your feet.
Come on, man.
After a 15-hour day.
You go on the walk-in.
Well, yeah, but
come on.
You're busting your ass prepping.
Yeah, no,
so,
I hear you.
But in that time there were guys that wore the neckerchief. There were guys that didn't want to wear the neckerchief. So I personally didn't wear it. I didn't knock it because I didn't wear it, but it kind of made me feel hotter, even though it was meant to take away the sweat. So you get a lot of those guys, and I feel that's how we've evolved, is that you have people that say, you know what, I really like that and I really respect it, but that's just not me. And I think that's how the chef coats have evolved in that sense, where it's like, okay, hey, listen, it's hot. There's open kitchens. We got to make these guys look good.
Yeah. I think appearance is important to a certain degree. But like I said, I don't require my guys to wear a chef coat or any particular hat. Like I let them kind of choose. I mean, if you got tattoos, you got piercings, I'm kind of all about expressing yourself and kind of being who you are. And maybe that comes from a lot of like the restrictions I had as a kid growing up. Maybe it was because I grew up in a military family. My father was lenient to a certain degree, but then strict on some other areas. And, working in a kitchen my whole life, it's very militant. So it's like you're not told that you have a right to do anything. You're told what to do. I mean, that's how the hierarchy works in the kitchen, basically. I mean, it sounds bad, but I mean, we're talking 20 years ago. Yeah. It's like you didn't have an option to be yourself. You were cook 1, cook 2, cook 3. You did sauces, you did this, and then you did that. Like that's all there was. And I think that nowadays, like the uniforms evolve because more people are getting more freedom. I feel like there's a lot more business generated from people being themselves than kind of being the traditional. Because if we took everything like the market and we said you had to be the same thing, like there wouldn't be no diversity to it. Yeah. So it's like there's no opportunity for expression. Nowadays, there's a restaurant for every concept you can imagine, right? I mean, you got like people wearing overalls, you got people wearing, T-shirts, you got people wearing chef coats, you got people wearing all kinds of things. It's just its own. I don't know. I'm trying to look for the words to explain this. Do you find yourself forming a judgment based on how? I mean, if you went there and the chef was wearing overalls, are you slightly forming a perception of how the food's going to be? Listen, man, if I'm in like the podunk country and I'm like sitting at like a red barn type of a restaurant where there's sawdust on the floor, of course not. I feel like I'm in my element. Like that's the shit right there. Yeah. You know what I mean? But yeah, if I'm sitting at like a fine dining restaurant downtown somewhere and the chef comes out in overalls, I might question it a little bit, but I mean, I'm not going to judge too much. I might actually like give the guy more respect and props for doing it that way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. I mean, look at McCann, Kevin. Yeah. The guy wears overalls and a Dickies shirt just like me. Well, I don't wear overalls. Okay, sorry about that. But he wears like a mechanic shirt. Yep. And dude, he's known for putting out some of the best beef and product in the city. That's true. It's like looks aren't everything, man. It's all about the craft and about the talent and about the dedication. Yeah, and that's kind of where I wanted to lead with you, is that you say that you want to let them express themselves through what they wear. Yeah. I do agree with that. But at the same point, I'd rather they express themselves through their food and how they... Ooh, mic drop is coming soon. I can feel it. What a dick. But at the end of the day, it's about the product that they put out. And
and they're only as good as their last plate.
Yeah.
You're only as good as your last dish. And, you know, you could wear whatever you want, but in the environment that I'm in, it's important to have that structure, that level of organization. Not to say that where you're at isn't that way.
Yeah. No offense.
But it's important for me in my environment to make sure that we all are in uniform. I mean, I just started letting the guys wear baseball caps, Joe, this year.
Yeah, that's crazy. You know, that's great though. I mean, that just shows that now is like the turning point for you to loosen the fuck up a little bit.
It is.
You're not like going to constrain them so much and tell them what kind of underwear and socks they have to wear too.
But I would never do that.
I'd never do that, but I just barely let them start wearing baseball hats.
No, but
nice guy.
We were all wearing skull caps.
Oh, I love busting your balls, man.
Yeah, I think, but I do feel that, you know, and in my environment, it's important that we all are in a uniform. We're all uniform.
Yeah. You know, that's cool. I mean, I respect that. You know how this goes. Like, I respect like where you are and what you do and like your thought process, but it's like, you know, let me go back to that whole point of, you're only as good as your last meal.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what I was wearing the day that I got the opportunity to open Nosh and the dish I made and how it happened? Listen, man, I was wearing a backwards Yankees cap with a t-shirt, I'm pretty sure, with a busted apron, and I cooked my ass off. And that's all it was, that I was just trying to do my best. And literally that last meal that I cooked that night was the meal that gave me the opportunity to open Nosh.
Yeah.
It goes back to like, you know, you never know like who you're cooking for, or, you know, who's in the dining room and all that stuff. And it's like, it's true. And I tell my guys all the time, it's like, I'm like that 1% success story that like got the opportunity from cooking a dish. How many people do you know that have gotten a restaurant opportunity from cooking? Well, just from like random people and being like, hey, presented with this opportunity to open a restaurant.
It happens more often than you think, you know? And I think that you are a tremendous success story, and I'm not going to ever take that away from you. But
you want me to wear blue underwear though?
With stripes.
See, look at this guy. He's so controlling.
No, but I think that everyone, whenever you're working in a restaurant, you have to cook as if it's your restaurant. It's your reputation on the line. Because to your point, you never know who you're going to cook for. You never know what opportunity is going to arise from that. And some guy may eat this dish that you made and say, this is the best dish I ever had. I'm looking for a private chef.
Yeah.
Boom.
Just like that. Now, do you think it would stop him though if I was wearing anything different? Like I said, I was wearing like a backwards hat, a t-shirt, I think at the time, and I still got the opportunity. So it's like, I took that mentality with me and I was like, you know what? It's important to, you know, look the part, I guess, to a certain degree, and also feel the part. And I feel like as a person, whenever you do anything that you're confident with and you feel comfortable in your own skin, you tend to do it better. And that's like my view of this is that as much as I'd like for my guys to wear like pretty little white chef coats and be tucked in and have their hair perfect and all this, it's like, I don't want to get distracted, man. And like you said, they should care about the food. Well, less distraction and more focus is what we need. And for me, the distraction of having to be a standard cookie cutter line cook versus being an independent, like wanting to be a hungry chef, it could be the difference of what you're wearing. Like for me, growing up, I didn't want to wear chef coats. None of them fit right. I'm 6'1", 300 pounds. You ever put on a chef coat on a body like this? No. They don't even make mannequins to make it look like how horrible it's going to be. Okay, I put it on. It's okay to laugh. This is good shit right here. Like, this is the truth. I mean, you go to one brand, it's a 2X. You go to one brand, it's a 3X. You go to one brand, it's a long. You go to one brand, it's like you cannot win. It's not like you just walk into the Gap, you put on a medium, and you look good in it. It's like I constantly struggled with putting on one of those damn chef coats, white, black, purple, you name it. And it never felt right. Yeah. And it always just, I was uncomfortable. And so I'd go into work not feeling confident about who I was, how I felt, my movements, if I could reach down and grab this because my chef coat wasn't going to lift up, my belly was going to pop out, or my ass crack was going to hang out. You know, these are all things you worry about. Why should you be worrying about that? You should just be moving. Yeah. And I think that's like the biggest struggle that I have now is like, maybe I'm a little bit like soft inside because I went through these struggles, but it's like, dude, I wasn't at the point where I am today. Now I could probably wear a custom chef coat that fits me properly, but now I don't want to. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like I spent 18 years struggling with it. Why do I now want to try to reinvent the wheel for myself? It's like I just focus on doing good food, having good service, having good guys that want to become chefs, and that's it. And I try to empower them any which way I know. It's like, you know, we all raise our children the way we were kind of raised, even if we don't want to. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's the same thing is like, I want to teach them that, hey, listen, this is what I've discovered after 18 years in the industry. And this is what helped me. And if this one little bit can help you, then that's all I know. You know what I mean? Just like how you know the structure of it and how important it is to be consistent with it. And for me on the other end, it's like, I think about the struggle of like fitment and the distraction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's like the biggest part. So I don't wear a chef coat anymore.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why I don't and the way, but I do respect it.
Yeah.
And, I do respect the uniformity of things. I mean, consistency is everything. And I think that that's important. I understand your whole philosophy on it because it's like if you wake up, you make your bed every day, you're focused, you get dressed the same way, you go to the same job, you do the same thing. It creates consistency.
Yeah, and the one thing I like about the chef coat as well, where we are in the environment that we're in at the club, is that my guys don't have to worry about what they're going to wear in the kitchen.
That's a very valid point.
They show up, they're responsible for their own pants, make sure they're clean, obviously, but they walk up in a t-shirt, they throw on a chef coat, they don't have to worry about it. They can just worry about focusing on the job at hand. So when they're walking up to the club, in their minds, they're already thinking, okay, what do I need to do today? I need to get this, I need to get that. And they're not thinking about, well, I wore the black chef coat today with the pinstripes, or I wore my pinstripe pants or anything like that. They're focused on what needs to get done. And that's the part I love.
Yeah.
I love being able to just walk up, go to my locker, grab a clean chef coat because they're washed, and throw it on, grab a clean apron, throw it on, and let's go to work.
Yeah. You know what? I can agree to that. I mean, listen, I don't personally wear a chef coat. That's not my thing anymore. Mm-hmm. But my guys, they wear chef coats. I don't want to be like a hypocrite here, but it's like I gave them the choice though.
Yeah.
So I asked them, hey, listen, we started off with the mechanic shirts. We're going to switch over. Do you want to do a chef coat or do you want to do a mechanic shirt? And they're like, we want to do a chef coat. And that's the direction they chose.
Yeah.
And I support that. And I empower them to have that choice. I don't have any requirements for pants. They can wear shorts. They can wear pants. They can do whatever they want to do. That's their own risk. Obviously, I want them to be safe. And obviously, I want them to be comfortable. Because as you know, working in a kitchen is a tough environment. And it's a constant draw on your emotions and your physical. And I think that we just all want them to be successful. No matter if they wear a chef coat or not, my goal is that they do good food, put out a good service. Just like for you, you're trying to bring them up to be disciplined and to have, good forward thinking.
Mm-hmm. And Joe, I got to be honest with you, man. I would love to just wear a white t-shirt and an apron and work,
Yeah.
I am that would be ideal for me. I'd love to do that, but I've been so trained in this other area of, again, the professionalism that it signifies, the growth. I mean, when you're a young cook and you're working in a large hotel with 500 employees and you see the chef walking around with a tall hat, clean, crisp apron all the way down to his shoes, you're like, man, that not that it shows power, but man, that's what I want to be. I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I want to be able to look like that. And that's kind of one of those things where as a young culinarian, you grow up admiring that and looking up to that, and not necessarily set that as a goal, but it kind of can be a goal where I want to be able to be the one to wear that.
Yeah. That's really weird. Cause like, as you're saying this, I'm getting like this really nostalgic feeling of like coming up in this industry like 18 years ago, man. You're right. There was plenty of times that I walked, I was like, oh shit, the chef's coming. It's like, dude, like look at that hat. Look at the apron. It's so clean. And then when you become a chef, you realize that he just doesn't cook anymore.
Yeah. Well,
no offense to you. No, I'm just kidding. We do the cooking part of it too. But no, I mean, you can stay clean because you always wonder, like, how the hell is a chef so clean?
Well, yeah.
Come on, dude. Let's be honest.
Well, it depends. It depends.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the burns on the arms. You get a lot of guys that
see my saute guy's arms, dude. It's bad from reaching. It looks like a freaking. Like, he got some serious drug issues, man. There's like 30 lines on each arm. You're just like, dude, man, like, you gotta watch what the hell you're doing. It's like,
I had a guy like that.
You're telling me go fast. And it's like, pain isn't an option, man. It's like, just go. And there's
fast,
like marks all over the place. I'm like, maybe we should have a long sleeve chef coat. Their choice. They like the pain.
Get rid of the short sleeves.
Yeah. No, it's cool, man.
Yeah, and I think that, to that point, you got to be careful. You got to be. It's
no matter
a very
what you wear.
dangerous
No matter
environment.
what you wear.
Yeah, it's a dangerous environment. I mean, you got hot oil everywhere, and
dude, the chef coat has saved my ass plenty of times. There's been plenty of times where I've like spilt a large amount of sauce on me, Or had like a saute pan get knocked off the stove, flip over right on me, and I could just rip off the chef coat so fast. As long as it has a knot buttons, you know what I mean? You could just like really just rip it off. And it's saved me a bunch of times when I was kind of careless and just reckless. Actually, I was like just going as fast as I could rather than being like precise. And that's the thing is as you mature and get to where you are, like for me, like now I feel comfortable wearing, you know, a mechanic shirt because I feel like no matter how busy it gets in the kitchen, I'm going to control my actions as much as possible. I mean, I'm looking down on my thumb right now that I have stitches on, so it's kind of stupid, but
but you look good wearing it.
Yeah, but you know how it is. And so like nowadays I have the option to do what I do, and I feel like that's important. I'm not trying to say that, you know, that should be everyone's goal is to get out of a chef coat. For me, it was just an opportunity to get out of my shell and be who I was. And I think
have
that
a ton
that's
of respect for that.
Thank you. And you know, just like I respect, you know, well, yeah, I respect you. It's unfortunate. No, just kidding. No, you're a good guy, man. You got good focus, and I love watching your team. Like, those guys are freaking monsters, man. It's really cool to see the talent they have. Thanks, and, you know, it's all because of you. Realistically, I mean, you're only as good as the leader. Like, my guy's failures is my failures. My guy's success is my success. And I think that's important. Everyone has to understand as well. But,
and you've got a great team, too, man.
Thanks, man.
No matter how they're dressed and what they're wearing, it's about the food at the end of the day. And, you know, we definitely have our different views on getting there, but at the end of the day, it's about the food and your last meal. Yeah. Serving your last meal.
And I agree. And I always said to the time I get out of this industry is that you got to pay attention to what you're cooking, because you never who you're cooking for.
It might lead to your next, your career.
It could. Literally, I woke up one day and everything changed overnight.
Because you were passionate about what you did. You didn't, if it needed a little bit more salt, you put it in there. You didn't just say, oh, it's good enough, I'm gonna take the lazy road and do that. You tasted it and you said, you know what, it needs a little pinch of salt and a little bit more, one turn of the pepper mill on it. And that probably made the difference for your career.
Yeah, you know, this is the thing about food is I've always approached it like this, is that recipes are only guidelines, right? So as a prep cook or as a, you know, you're doing your specific duty. So if you're making the sauce that day, you're making the gravy, you're making, you know, the salsa, whatever you're doing, you have a recipe based off of volume or weight or however it works out, right? Mm-hmm. But every time that you cook, you have to still taste it and have love for it, because every time that tomato is going to have a different level of solidity, it's going to have a different level of water, it's going to have a different level of sugar. Everything is going to change every time you get that piece of produce or that piece of protein. It's different every single time. And that's where you leave it into the hands of the experienced people who have a good palate and understand the development of flavor.
Yep.
And that's a hard thing to teach people, because like, oh, you know, I'm going to just follow the recipe and that's it. Well, did you taste it? Because the recipe says what it is. It's like, yeah, but the tomato is like 2 months out of season. Yeah. You know what I mean? The squash isn't even a winter vegetable. Like, what's going on? You got to taste these things.
Yeah.
And it's tough to teach people these things, but that's the difference. And like, maybe that's why I got the opportunity I did. It's because, like you said, I would put a little bit extra salt. I would just taste it and adapt it.
Yeah.
That goes about being a good cook. So what's funny is that we put a post up on the Food Fight Facebook page, right? And we asked people like if they were like pro chef uniform or anti. And what the survey said? 60% were pro chef uniform. Well, blah, blah, blah. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
No, I really appreciate this opportunity, guys. Listen, you can find us on Spotify. You can find us on iTunes podcasts. You can find us on Facebook. It's called Food Fight. Look it up.
And if you get lost, just go to thundermedialive.com.
Sounds good, man.
Hey, thanks, Joe. Thanks for your time today, man.
Hey, not a problem, man. I really appreciate this. And yeah, that's about it. That's all I got.